The Great Depression was one of the toughest times in American history. No, not the I failed my test depression, but a real worldwide economic disaster. The Great Depression lasted from 1929 to the late 1930s. One major cause was the stock market crash in 1929. During the 1920s, many Americans were investing in the stock market through speculation, meaning they hoped stock prices would keep rising and they would make easy money. It was basically another form of gambling. Yeah, that didn't end well. Imagine waking up the next morning and your savings are gone. During the Great Depression, banks also failed because everyone rushed to take out their money at the same time. Since banks don't keep all of their money in one place, they ran out of cash quickly. Over time, businesses slowed down, production dropped, and the economy struggled for years. The impact on Americans was serious. Millions of people lost their jobs and couldn't afford basic needs like food and water for their families. Living in poor communities called Hoovervilles, not exactly the dream neighborhood. People struggled to eat, and many depended on soup kitchens and bread lines just to survive. Farmers struggled greatly as well. The Dust Bowl in the 1930s destroyed crops across the Midwest, leaving farms covered in dust. African Americans were hit especially hard. They were often the first to lose their jobs and the last to get hired. Unemployment rates for African Americans were higher than for white Americans, and they still faced segregation and discrimination, especially in the South. Women played a major role in helping families survive. Many women entered the workforce to support their families, even though jobs were limited. They often worked lower paying jobs like teaching, sewing, or domestic work. At home, they had to make every dollar count. Here comes the money. Here we go. By cooking cheaper meals and repairing clothes. Children were also affected by the Great Depression. Many had to drop out of school to help their families. Teenagers took whatever jobs they could find, even if they were paid very little. Some children even became homeless or were sent away because their families couldn't support them. This meant that kids had to take on adult responsibilities at a young age. Definitely not a normal childhood. At first, President Herbert Hoover's response to the crisis was limited and not effective enough, and many Americans were frustrated. That's actually how Hoovervilles got their name. People blamed him for the economic problems. Luckily, Franklin D. Roosevelt became president in 1933, and he brought a very different approach. In his first speech, he said, "The only thing we have to fear is fear itself," which is a pretty bold thing to say when people were worried about losing everything. Another important part of the story is the Federal Reserve System, which had been created in 1913. The Federal Reserve already existed before the Great Depression, but when the crisis hit, it didn't respond quickly enough.
You're too slow!
Banks failed, the money supply decreased, and prices dropped, which caused businesses to lose money and lay off workers. This made the economic situation even worse. FDR responded by introducing the New Deal, a series of programs designed to provide relief, recovery, and reform. These programs created jobs, helped struggling families, and worked to stabilize the economy. One important program was Social Security, which provided financial support to older Americans. The government also introduced new banking regulations to help prevent future economic disasters. In conclusion, the Great Depression had a massive impact on Americans. It caused unemployment, poverty, and suffering on a huge scale. However, it also led to important changes. The government stepped in with programs that helped people recover and prevented future economic crisis. The Great Depression is important because it changed how the United States handles economic problems and expanded the role of the federal government. Even though it was a terrible period, it led to reforms that still affect us today.